Hi, welcome to your channel. Today is the first day of 16th chapter, that is your subconscious mind and harmonious human relationships. Let's start. A vital concept you have learned from studying this book is that your subconscious mind is like a recording machine that faithfully reproduces whatever you impress upon it. This is one of the reasons the golden rule is so central to creating and maintaining a harmonious balance in your relationships with others. All things whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, do ye even so to them. Matthew 7 verses 12. This lesson has both outer and inner meanings. The inner meaning concerns the connection between your conscious and subconscious mind. The paraphrase the scripture as you would want people to think about you, think you about them in like manner as you would want people to feel about you, feel you also about them in like manner as you would want people to act toward you, act you toward them in a like manner. For example, you may be polite and courteous to someone in your office, but when her back is turned, you are very critical and resentful toward her in your mind. Such negative thoughts are highly destructive to you. It is like taking poison. The negative energy you are generating robs you of vitality, enthusiasm, strength, guidance, and goodwill. As these negative thoughts are and emotions sink into your subconscious, they cause all kinds of difficulties and maladies in your life. The master key to happy relationships with others. Judge not that you ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. Matthew 7 verses 1 2. The key to harmonious relationship with others lies in the close study of these verses and the application of the inner truths they represent. To judge is to think, to arrive at a mental verdict or conclusion in your mind. The thought you have about the other people is your thought because you are thinking it. Your thoughts are creative. Therefore, you actually create in your own experience what you think and feel about the other person. The suggestion you give to another, you give to yourself as well, because your mind is the creative medium. This is why it is said, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. This means that in applying standards and criteria to others, you create those standards and criteria in your subconscious. When it then applies them to you. Once you know this law and understand the law of the way your subconscious mind works, you will always be careful to think, feel, and act right toward others. For in doing So you are creating a situation of right action, feeling, and thought toward yourself. And with what a measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. The good you to do for others comes back to you in like measure, and the avail you do returns to you by the law of your own mind. If someone cheats and deceives another, he is actually cheating and deceiving himself. His sense of guilt and mood of loss inevitably will attract loss to him in some way at some time. His subconscious records his mental act and reacts according to the mental intention or motivation. Your subconscious mind is impersonal and unchanging, neither considering persons nor respecting or religious uh, affiliations or institutions of any kind. It is neither compassionate nor vindictive. The way you think, feel, and act toward others returns at least upon yourself. The daily headlines made him seek. Begin now to observe yourself, observe your reactions to people, condition, and circumstances. Record them in a notebook for later study. How do you respond to the events and news of the day? It makes no difference if all the other people were wrong and you alone were right. If the news disturbs you, it is your avail because your negative emotions robbed you of peace and harmony. A woman wrote me to ask for help with her husband. She explained that he went into a rage every time he read what certain columnist wrote in the newspaper. She added that this constant reaction of anger and suppressed rage on his part was very bad for his high blood pressure. His doctor had told him that he had to find some way to reduce his stress through emotional reconditioning. I invited this man to come see me. I explained to him the way his mind functions. He understood that it was emotionally immature to get angry over an article in the newspaper, but he had not known the damage his anger was causing to his own mind and body. He began to realize that he should give the calumnist the freedom to express himself even if he disagreed with him politically or religiously or in any other way. In the same manner, the calumnist ought to give him the freedom to write a letter to the newspaper disagreeing with his published statements. He learned that he could disagree without being disagreeable. He awakened to the simple truth that it is never what some other person says or does that affects him. Rather, it is his own reaction to what is said or done that matters. This explanation helped this man achieve a cure. He realized that with a little practice, he could master his morning tantrums. His wife later told me that he eventually learned to laugh at what the calumnist he so disliked had to say. He also learned to laugh at himself for reacting so strongly. The newspaper articles no longer have power to disturb, annoy, and irritate him. His hypertension is more under control as a result of his increased emotional poise and serenity. I hate women, but I like men. Cynthia Orr was an executive secretary with a large corporation. She came to me because she felt very bitter towards some of the women in her office. She believed they were gossiping and, as she said, spreading vicious lies about her. When I asked, she admitted that she had many problems in her relationships with other women. She said, I hate women, but I like men. As I continued to talk with her, I discovered that Cynthia spoke to the people she supervised in a very hearty, imperious, and irritable tone of voice. There was a certain pomp, uh, pomposity in her way of speaking, and I could see where her tone of voice would affect some people unpleasantly. She did not realize this. For her, the important point was that her coworkers took delight in making things difficult for her. If all the people in your office or factory annoy you, isn't it possible that this unrest and turmoil may be due to some subconscious pattern or mental projection that is coming from you? We all know that a dog will react facetiously if you hate or fear dogs. Animals pick up your subconscious vibrations and react accordingly. It is so outrageous to say that human beings are just as sensitive as dogs, cats, and other animals in this regard. To this woman who hated women, I suggested a process of prayer. I explained to her that when she began to identify herself with spiritual values and commenced to affirm the truths of life, he hatred of women, her hatred of women would completely disappear along with the vocal patterns and mannerisms that communicated that hatred to others. So she was surprised to learn that our emotions show up in our speech, action, writings, and in all phases of life. As a result of our conversation, Cynthia stopped behaving in her typical resentful and angry way. She established a pattern of prayer that she practiced regularly, systematically, and conscientiously in the office. This was the prayer she used with such success. I think, speak, and act lovingly, quietly, and peacefully. I now radiate love, peace, tolerance, and kindliness to all those who criticized me and gossiped about me. I anchor my thoughts on peace, harmony, and goodwill to all. Whenever I am about to react negatively, I say firmly to myself, I think, speak, and act from the standpoint of the principle of harmony, health, and peace within myself. Creative intelligence leads, rules, and guides me in all my ways. The practice of this prayer transformed her life. She found that the atmosphere of criticism and annoyance in her workplace gradually disappeared. Her workers became friends and companions in life's journey. She discovered the truth that we have no one to blame and no one to change but ourselves. His inner speech held back in his promotion. One day, GMS, a sales representative, came to see me. He was deeply upset by the difficulties he had working with the sales manager of his organization. Jim had been with the company 10 years without receiving any promotion or recognition of any kind. He showed me his sales figures. I could easily see that they were higher proportionately than those of the other sales representatives in the territory. His explanation was that the sales manager did not like him. He claimed that he was unjustly treated. At conferences, the manager ridiculed his suggestions and at times was actively rude to him. After discussing his situation in greater detail, I suggested to Jim that the cause was to create a degree within himself. His concept and belief about his superior bore witness to the reaction of this man. The measure we meet shall be measured to us again. James' mental measure or concept of the sales manager was that he was mean, prejudiced, and cantankerous. Jim was filled with bitterness and hostility toward the executive. On his way to work, he conducted a vigorous conversation with himself, filled with criticism, mental arguments, recriminations, and denunciations, denunciations of his sales manager. What Jim gave out mentally, he was inevitably bound to get back. By the end of our conversation, Jim realized that his inner speech was highly destructive. The intensity and force of his silent thoughts and emotions, the mental documentation and vilification of the sales manager that he rehearsed entered into his own subconscious mind. This brought about the negative response from his boss, as well as creating other personal, physical, and emotional disorders. At my urging, Jim began to pray frequently as follows: I am the only thinker in my universe. I am responsible for that. I think about my boss. My sales manager is not responsible for the way I think about him. I refuse to give power to any person, place, or things to annoy me, to disturb me. I wish health, success, peace of mind, and happiness for my boss. I sincerely wish him well, and I know he is divinely guided in all his ways. He repeated this prayer out loud, slowly, quietly, and feelingly, knowing that his mind is like a garden and that whatever he plants in the garden will come forth like seeds after their kind. I also taught him to practice visualization or mental imagery prior to sleep. He created a scenario in which his superior congratulated him uh, on his fine work, praised his zeal and enthusiasm and remarked on the wonderful response he obtained from customers. He felt the reality of all this. He felt his boss's handshake, heard the tone of his voice, and he saw him smile. He made a real mental movie, dramatizing it to the best of his ability. Night after night, he replayed this mental movie, knowing that his subconscious mind was the receptive medium on which his conscious imagery would be impressed. Gradually, by a process of what we can think of as mental and spiritual osmosis, the impression was made on his subconscious mind. The expression automatically came forth. James sales manager subsequently called him up to San Francisco, congratulated him, and gave him a promotion to division sales manager with greatly increased responsibilities and substantial raise in salary. Once Jim changed his concept and estimate of his boss, his subconscious mind saw to it that his boss responded accordingly. Okay, we will start becoming emotionally mature in the second session. If you are new on the channel, subscribe the channel and press bell icon so that you will get notification about new video upload. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.